Hello everybody and welcome to another amazing video of DIY investing. Today is a special day because as I'm seeing the markets reversing, I wanted to share with you guys 5 of my favorite altcoins that I think are going to be exploding in value. Not only are these layer 1s going to do well, but the entire token list that is built inside of them are also going to benefit as a whole. I wanted to break it down, explain why layer 1s are so primed for an immense amount of upside potential very soon, and how we can all get positioned and ready to capitalize on this momentum before it takes place. You guys, if you find any value in this video, please do me a favor, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these videos. And for those that want to actually see how I'm investing my portfolio, anything I'm buying, selling, trading over this next cycle, links are in the description to go ahead and sign up on my website. Now guys, before I jump into this video, I wanted to give a quick shout out to Proof of Beard. He's the person that just created my new intro. So if you guys like it, I would really appreciate it if you guys would go out and actually check out his page. Check out some of his stuff, his work. He's got a number of these different clients he's worked for, and I really do love all of his work that he's done. It's the reason I chose him. So if you guys do want to check it out, links are in the description. He's a great guy, great person to work with, and so I wanted to give him a quick shout out. Right off the bat, guys, I wanted to go through and just touch up on a couple different things. We're going to be taking a look a little bit about the TVL, analyzing the way that things are shifting, what we've been noticing up to this point, because as we're getting into this point of the cycle, Bitcoin's getting ready to make a new all-time high, go into price discovery. Many altcoins are looking like they're looking very bullish. Currently, after this sell-off, many of the top alts are just sitting on top of their, major support levels. And so I do believe we're about to see a very major reversal very soon. And I did want to take the time to kind of go over how some of the chains are developing. What ones are seeing a little bit more adoption than others? What ones are lagging? What was I a little bit wrong about? And I wanted to go through before I jump into the 5 altcoins and talk a little bit about what we're seeing today. Now, right off the bat, when we're looking at the top 5, not much has changed. Since a couple years ago, this list has virtually stayed the same. The only big difference that we've seen, if we're looking at basically the top 10, we've seen Blast, we've seen Coinbase, and we've seen the Bitcoin chain. Bitcoin has its own layer 1 now. You can basically build your own BRC20 tokens. And so we've seen a lot of adoption taking place over on the Bitcoin chain. But the 2 big outliers up to this point have kind of been Blast and Coinbase. To me, really where we're going to be seeing a lot of value in this next cycle centered around Coinbase. Coinbase always has the most retail adoption because they're the biggest centralized exchange in America. And with them actually branching and going global, we're starting to see that they've really cemented themselves as being the forefront. Maybe you could draw Binance as far as the Asian market, but you've got Coinbase for America and you've got Binance for the Asian markets. However, what we've seen is now that Coinbase has added their own layer 2, which is what's known as Base, they have the ability to onboard new people to their own layer 2 and to all of these on-chain altcoins that exist for the first time ever. And I do believe that anybody that's investing into the Coinbase ecosystem, anybody that's looking into the tokens being added into that Base chain, we're going to see a lot more growth taking place there, because you guys got to keep in mind that if the majority of retail money is going to be flocking to centralized exchanges, there's only one centralized exchange that has the on-ramp and the technology to just go straight into their layer 2. They can just onboard directly to it. So we're going to see way more money coming into the Coinbase chain as a whole, and I really think that that's where retail is going to dominate. So as we're looking at kind of how things have shifted, optimism has kind of fallen back a little bit. Polygon has kind of fallen back a little bit, but for the most part, things have stayed the same. The 2 big outliers to me are basically Coinbase and the Blast ecosystem. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about that because I am seeing so much hype driven around the Coinbase ecosystem that I really think that you guys should be doing your part by researching into tokens, looking into that ecosystem. For example, if you guys come over here, you can literally come to CoinGecko, you can type in Base, and if you scroll down, you'll see the Base ecosystem. This will share with you guys all of the tokens that are literally added to the Coinbase ecosystem. So if you guys are interested in actually going and buying any of these, this is virtually where you're going to be able to find a number of these different tokens that are listed over here. Now, one of the things I want you guys to be aware of, many of the tokens over here are older tokens that just recently added support. So there's not as many new protocols that are launched over on Base, but I do think that's something that will change. So definitely go and check these out. Look and do your own research. Because I really think that you guys will make a lot of money by focusing in on this Coinbase ecosystem. Now, I wanted to take a little bit of time to jump into the Bitcoin chart before I go into these altcoins on today's video. Overall, not much has changed. Yesterday, we were at the very bottom of this dip, and all we've really done is just came back up to the same range. Overall, I don't really know what the short-term price is going to do. I wouldn't be surprised to see one more little correction, maybe back down to 61,000. Before we got that reversal. But at the same time, if we just kind of end up trending sideways here, I won't be surprised if we just start that next leg up. Overall, the big things that we've been watching for with Bitcoin have mainly revolved around this support level that we've been holding, right? If we come out to the weekly time frame, we had this big buyback and this bullish pin hammer candle that came in. So as it stands, we're just gonna have to watch and see how this week unfolds. I honestly think that this thing would just end up reversing before we go into the next high. I see a lot of people that are assuming we're gonna see downside. A lot of people are still kind of on the fence about, what we're gonna do right here. I still see a lot of people thinking that this thing is just a bull trap before we fall something like this. And I just can't help but think that that's probably not accurate, mainly because when we're looking at all of our other major indexes, the stock market's sitting into price discovery. This thing is only getting more bullish by the day. We zoom out. We just broke out of prior all-time highs. We're sitting in price discovery. All of our other major indexes, we could look at the Dow Jones being the other one. It's pretty much at the exact same moment of time. Both of these have broken out and are about to enter price discovery. And we can, go over to gold and see a lot of the same similarities. This thing just went into price discovery as well. So when I'm zooming out and when I'm taking the opportunity to just look at the bigger picture, every single one of our markets are bullish. So this idea that Bitcoin is just going to magically fall and just keep going down when every one of our markets that Bitcoin is the most correlated with are sitting into new all-time highs, it's just a little bit silly to me. And I wanted to give you guys a little bit of understanding as somebody who's been through the cycles, as somebody who's been here to see how things have worked. Even though, Bitcoin didn't have that big of a pullback, many altcoins bled like 50 or 60% in this dip. Many altcoins got completely obliterated. And oftentimes that's what you're going to see right before we go into price discovery. There's usually one big capitulation in the altcoins right before Bitcoin makes its big run. And when I'm looking and zooming out on all of the altcoins I see in the market, a lot of them are sitting on major support levels. Some of them that have been outperforming have gone into new all-time highs, and all this sell-off did was actually fall back down to retest the prior all-time highs as new support. So when I look around, I just see a number of different charts that are actually really bullish. There's nothing that is telling me that Bitcoin is going to fall from here and make another big low. Most people are expecting we're going to see another one of these, another one of these, another one of these, and it's about to happen right here. However, I think that those people are going to be wrong, because when I take the time to look at my favorite altcoins in the market, every single one of them look really bullish. Now, the first one we're going to be covering today is going to be SUI. This is a new layer 1 ecosystem that I think is going to do really, really well. If we come over here, we can see that SUI is ranked 14th on this list. So it only has 31 protocols. It's a very new chain, but it's in these beginning ecosystems, the new cycles that haven't ever had prior bull runs. They always perform the best. Now, when I was looking at this chart, it reminded me exactly like the setup that I bought Solana when I bought Solana in the last cycle at 50 cents. So if we come all the way back to the beginning of Solana, it did a very similar type of pattern. And this is a pattern I often like to buy because I see this happen with new ecosystems. They get added to exchanges, they make the listing pump, they make this little correction and kind of go sideways, and then they finally start that new cycle. Now, keep in mind, guys, that the market cap of Solana when I bought it at 50 or 60 cents was way small. I think it was like $50 million total market cap. And when we're looking at, SUI today, SUI has a market cap of like 1 to 2 billion. So obviously the ROI isn't going to be the exact same. I don't think that it's going to do, whatever the hell Solana did in the last cycle. I don't think it'll be the same ROI. But when we see these same cycles playing out, I don't think that we need to see the same ROI to get a massive financial return. I mean, this did multi-thousands of X's in this run. I wouldn't be surprised to see SUI do a 50 to 100x. To me, that's realistic. And I'm just being honest with you guys. I'm not trying to sit here and shill you guys this coin and, ultimately just make you believe that it's got this unrealistic expectation that you end up losing money on from long term. We can see that all we've done up to this point was made our first impulse. Wave 1, this was wave 3, wave 4, and then we saw a wave 5. And even though we temporarily made another high after, this is what's known as an expanded flat correction. And I'll share with you guys an example of what I'm talking about. So this is an example of an expanded flat. And you can see this both ways. This is what happens in the bull market, where you make the wave A, wave B actually breaks above the range highs, and then wave C breaks below wave A, support. And that's exactly what we ended up seeing with SUI. We saw your classic example of an expanded flat correction. We're currently just looking like we're rounding out here before we start that next cycle and return. And the good thing about SUI is the next move coming is a wave 3. So we can use Fibonacci to give us some base level targets. And our first primary target, this is our minimum target, we would go to $3.50 approximately. So from where we're at today, you know, about a 2x, a little over 2x, pretty solid, but I honestly think that this thing's going to go a lot higher than that. You know, most likely we go up to the 2618, which is about a 3.5x, and I wouldn't be the least bit surprised to see this thing go up even higher. I got to change some of these settings. These aren't right. You only are factoring in the 618s. So when we're looking at this, these are going to be my main targets. I think that at the minimum, we're for sure going to go up at least a 2x to the 1618. But chances are with this being a wave 3, it's going to do something like this. This whole thing is a wave 1, wave 2. Wave 3 will make this very big impulsive move. Could go to the 2618, could go even higher than that. It's impossible to know. And that's why I'm saying I'm not really trying to predict the price, guys. The minimum target's the 1618. So if you were looking at the place where you should at least take some profit, I would go with that. But when I'm looking at these charts, I don't really draw the Elliott waves to get an exact price target. I'm not trying to predict the price. I'm sharing with you guys the way that the structure is taking and the way that it's going to continue to play out from here. So when we're seeing all of these top layer ones that just got added into the ecosystems, you know, the crypto space, I should say, over the last couple years, if that, these are the new ones that don't have any bag holders. All they have is upside potential. When, you know, me or when you or anybody looks at these charts, they think, oh man, we just barely retested that prior all-time high. This thing's about to just explode and it's got no room but up. People look at those sort of things. And when I'm looking at this, it looks kind of like a cup and handle formation, right? Where you have the top of the cup right here, you rally back up, then you have the handle, which comes back down kind of in the mid-range point. I believe it's the 618. Yeah, perfectly retested that 618, tagged it right off the bat. So to me, when I'm zooming out, this looks like your standard example of a cup and handle. And if I shared with you guys examples of cup and handles I've seen play out in prior cycles, it'd probably blow your mind. One of the first ones I remember was actually Dash, and this would have been in the Bitcoin dark days if you guys remember that. But this is an example of a cup and handle formation where you have the top of the cup, the handle comes down in here, and this one didn't come to the 618. This one was probably a 382 retest, but regardless, you know, a 0.5. So it got close to the 618, but it didn't get all the way down there. Nonetheless, this is what happened after. Right? So that's why I say, guys, I've seen these play out a number of different times. And when I'm seeing, you know, new cycles, layer ones, an ecosystem where new tokens can build in, it's only going to benefit the layer of the native token, which would be SUI. So I just think that this thing's going to blow up in a big way. This is the first one on today's list, one you should probably be watching out for, because I do think we're about to be breaking out very soon. Next up on the list today is going to be SEI. This one is going to be very similar. It's another layer one. And I do think that really layer ones, layer twos as a whole are going to do well because they provide their own ecosystem. Any new project that builds, it's only going to benefit the native chain token. So that's why we've seen Ethereum do so well. That's why we've seen, you know, Solana do so well. There was a number of altcoins in the last cycle. Terra Luna did well for that reason. Phantom Network did well for that reason. There's a number of layer ones and they always blow up every cycle. And that's why they've been some of my favorite investments. And with this cycle, instead of me going after the native chain tokens, because for example, because when we're looking at SEI or SUI, both of these are going to have relatively high market caps. You know, they're not small caps by any means. If we come over here and we look at SUI, you know, the market cap of SUI is going to be relatively high, 2.5 bill. That's, you know, that's pretty high market cap. If we come and look at SEI, it's probably relatively the same, 1.5 bill, so about $1 billion difference, but the charts look the same. And I'm not really telling you guys that you need to go out and buy SUI or you need to go out and buy SEI. These are ecosystems that are exploding. They have perfect Elliott wave structure. This one made a perfect 5 waves off of the bottom, and then we just finished our first little ABC correction back down in here. This wave C takes us right back onto those prior all-time highs, right? Retest. And so all we're doing is just breaking out of the prior all-time highs of our first cycle, retesting them as new support before this thing goes into another new all-time high. And like I stated with SUI, both of these are inside of a wave 1. So what's coming next is a wave 3, right? So from the high to the low, our minimum target's going to be this 1618. It'll probably be a little bit higher targets than what we saw with SUI. Yeah, this one's about a 3x to the minimum target. And then the 2618, it's going to be up a little bit higher than that. So we're looking at about a 5x most likely. And I really think that this one is going to be filling these targets on the next move. And it could very easily overextend. I never know how high or how parabolic a cycle is going to get going into a wave 3. My favorite setup to buy is a wave 1 because I know that based off this wave 1, this is what starts the hype. This is the first breakout, right? What comes next is the real parabolic moves. Wave 3 is always a parabolic cycle. It's oftentimes the biggest. The most ROI is made. The most volume comes into those. And so it's not coincidental that wave 1 and wave 2 end as we've just broken out of the prior all-time high, and wave 3 ends up being the most parabolic. It's because this next move is going to be price discovery. So, you know, even if you don't go and buy SEI, or even if you don't go buy and go buy SUI, you can literally come to CoinGecko, you can type in SEI, you can scroll down and you say SEI ecosystem. You click on that, and this will give you every single one of the tokens, well, most of the tokens that are built inside of this chain. So most of these are going to be pretty small. You know, a lot of the development hasn't really taken place. Most of these are brand new chains. So when you're looking up SUI or SEI, understand that I think that the real big winners will come in diversifying into projects built on these chains. If it's a DEX, if it's a lending protocol, an NFT project, I don't know, but whatever it is, that's what you should be looking at. If you feel like you only have a small amount of money to invest and you kind of need it to go a little bit further than buying something at, you know, multi-billions of dollars in market cap that's going to have token unlocks, look into the tokens that are built in the ecosystems. Because the DEXs, you know, if we look at what happened with Binance Smart Chain and Cardano and literally Solana, every single one of these layer ones that blow up, the DEXs on them always take off the most. Because when the money goes on chain, people are thinking, all right, well, I need to trade it into this, or I want to buy this. What do they use to do that? A DEX. So if you're looking at the best thing to buy inside of a new ecosystem, look at the DEXs, look at the lending protocols. Where is the money going to be, you know, consolidating into these liquidity pools and things to earn yield and whatever? That's where the real value is. So, you know, if you're somebody with a smaller portfolio that you don't want to mess with these, look into the ecosystem. If you don't care, the gains on these are still going to be solid. And these are two new chains that I just think are going to blow up in a big way. Next up is going to be Velo. Now, Velo is one that I've been watching. I made a signal inside of my private group just a couple days ago about this one. And we're currently up, you know, not a ton, but probably about 15 or 16%. Yeah, about 18% or so. What I've been watching with this one is truly one of the biggest double bottom formations I've ever seen. If we look at this, we just broke out of the range high, which confirms this. Bottom one, bottom two, so much new volume coming in here on this bottom formation. And when we zoom out and we see how high our target is, because at a double bottom formation breakout, your target is the prior high. So our target is literally this prior all-time high. And look how far we are down here. So that's why I made this signal. And I did want to give it to you guys. You know, normally I wouldn't give out. Normally I would wait a little bit longer to give something like this out. But I want you guys to get in because I really think this thing is going to blow up in a big way. If we come all the way up, it's like 100x from where we're at today approximately. Maybe a little bit less than that because, you know, we bought it at a different point. But you're looking at like a 90 to 100x move just to the prior all-time high. That's your target based off of a double bottom formation. So when I saw this chart, I've been hearing all kinds of people talking about it. I see more volume down here at this cycle low than what we saw at the cycle high. And because we're 90x approximately away from that high, and that's our target, I just think that this thing is a good one. I mean, you could actually, if you want to buy it, there's a few exchanges it's on. As an American, you'll have to bridge to the Binance Smart Chain to actually buy it on PancakeSwap. So just be aware of that. But this is one that I think is going to blow up in a big way. I love these type of charts because all it's done is this giant accumulation. And like I said, guys, with us breaking out of this double bottom formation like we have, our target is the prior high of that trend. So we've been in this downtrend. Our target is the prior high of that. So the prior all-time high is like $2. We're worth 0.02. So there's going to be a lot of upside potential coming in this one. And I wanted to give it to you guys because I really think that anybody that holds onto this one is a moon bag. You know, even $100 could go a long way if this thing is really going to do 100x. So it doesn't really require that much, but they're one of the bigger players in the Asian market. They're getting a lot of adoption. I hear about them constantly on Twitter. I think it could be worth one of those moon bags. So watch out for Velo. Next up is going to be Synapse protocol. This is my favorite bridge, and we're going to come over here and take a look at it on this chart because I just don't, it doesn't show the full price history on TradingView. But I wanted to come over here and talk about this setup because I think that this is for sure the very best bridge in the market. And I think that there's just so much value to be made off of you investing into bridges because the big issue that we have right now is, well, I have money on a centralized exchange. It's on Coinbase, it's on Kraken, it's on Binance or whatever. and I want to start participating in some of these on-chain altcoins. I want to go buy some alts on Binance Smart Chain or Solana or Coinbase or Arbitrum, whatever it is. I want to go invest into some of these. So the only way that you can actually transfer your money from, one chain to the other is to actually use a token bridge. So that's really where we're going to see a lot more adoption this cycle, because everybody's going to be moving their money on chain. They're going to want to participate in the great casino of these altcoins that are blowing up like crazy. So where are they going to be able to do that? They're going to be able to do that through a token bridge. And I've used a lot of token bridges, and I got to say Synapse is the best one. They, to me, have been the most, they've just been the most solid, and they have really solid fees. So when I'm looking at this, noticing how all we were in was this big downtrend. We saw a huge amount of new volume that came in. The price also broke out of that downtrend. And all we've done is just made our first little impulse. This is wave 1, this was wave 3, that was wave 4, and that was wave 5. So we're currently working out our ABC. We finished wave A, we finished wave B, and we're currently inside of wave C. I wouldn't be surprised if we bottomed here. I wouldn't be surprised if we came back down to the support of this wave 4. But regardless, support of wave 4 will be like 70 cents. Where we're at right now is like 90 cents. So I don't think that we've got much more downside upon us before this thing reverses. And the great news about this is with this new volume, with us just breaking out of the downtrend, the next moves are going to be pretty big. I think we're coming up to here, basically these range highs. Wouldn't be surprised if we actually flipped them and did something like this before getting that next move. This is more along the lines of what I'm anticipating for Synapse protocol. Everybody's going to need to use a token bridge of some kind, and Synapse to me is just the most obvious one, and it is listed on Coinbase. So anybody can go and buy this one. I was having my family accumulate this one when we were back down here at this range low. We did make a lower low after that point, but I was having my family accumulate this one because anytime I see an altcoin that's worth like $100 to $200 million in total market cap that's on Coinbase, like just their main centralized exchange, not on the base chain itself, they have way more upside potential because all the retail money is going to flock to the centralized exchanges first. And then from the centralized exchanges, the ones that are feeling confident and bold will end up moving on chain and trading that way. So we got to understand that with Coinbase having their own layer 2, they're going to be able to really easily onboard people to it. When everybody's going to their centralized exchange, they're going to be buying all of those altcoins first. And that's why I think Synapse is going to do super well, because Synapse is going to get the immediate effect of all of the retail money. And then it's going to have to kind of trickle back into their layer 2. Even though it's easy for Coinbase to board them to base, it's, not as likely that they're going to want to actually do that. The average retail investor is mainly just looking at what's already available on the centralized exchange. And Synapse is a great option because it has a really small market cap in comparison with many of the other listings. Right now is a good time to look for Coinbase alts, just the ones that are listed on centralized exchanges that have small market caps, because when the retail money comes in, those end up blowing up really hard. And I know that Synapse is a great project fundamentally because I've actually used them. So definitely watch out for this one. Alrighty guys, last up on today's video is going to be incentive token. This is my favorite token on Pulse Chain, and I really think it's going to do the best. Now, when I've been watching this, I've just been waiting for when we were going to break out of this falling wedge, and it does look like we're finally at that point. Technically, the short-term price has gotten outside of that. Whether we come back down and retest it again, I don't know. But regardless, I do think that this thing is bottomed. Now, with this being a falling wedge, the way that you would determine whether it's a true falling wedge or not, obviously it has to follow inside of this triangle. There needs to be 7 different reactions in this channel. So we saw 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You could maybe even say 9. So there's easily enough conformational touches inside of this wedge to confirm that this is truly a falling wedge. Now the big thing, seeing this breakout happening right where we're at is very important, because where we're at right now is basically our main support that we've been holding since the entirety of this structure, because this support is going to be taking us all the way back to when we first got listed on exchanges. Coming over in here, we made our first little listing pump, and then when we started to sell off, once Richard Hart got sued by the SEC, that's where this level became resistance. We sold below that, rejected. And then even when we started the new bull trend and we were starting to rally back up into the same resistance, that was the level that we were holding right here before the breakout. So seeing us break out and then fall right back onto that same trending support and then flip outside of our falling wedge, to me, that's confirmation. I mean, we're literally just doing a big support and resistance flip right now. This is the first true higher high of the new cycle, because this in and of itself was a lower high, right? We've only ever seen lower lows, lower highs. So the second that this finally broke bullish was the first time we ever had a higher high to begin the new trend. So now that we're kind of just retesting, sitting here back on support, I honestly think that this thing is about to reverse in a big way. And with this one having such a high ROI, 23x just to the prior all-time highs, I think that with all of the new volume we've seen coming in here, it's a very telltale sign that this thing is most definitely going to be going into price discovery. At some point, I have nothing but confidence this will go into a new all-time high, and we're going to see a lot of development taking place over on Pulse Chain, and I think a lot of it's going to be centered around people flocking to buy Ink. As funny as it is, because Ink is just a reward token, you actually provide liquidity on PulseX, and then if you farm that token, you'll actually be earning Ink. So I do think that this thing is going to blow up in a big way, and the real value of Ink is actually farming it. If you can farm Ink on PulseX, I really think you should, because if you can be farming $100 a week or $1,000 a week, depending on how big your portfolio is, and then this thing does a 23x over the next year and a half to 2 years, I mean, you're not really earning $100 or $1,000. You're earning like $260 or like $2,600 or more. No way. You're earning like $2,600 or you're earning like $26,000. So that's why I think it's super important. This token is undervalued, but it will get overvalued as we go into this cycle. The fact that we can earn a really significant ROI by farming Ink over on PulseX, it's a huge opportunity. And I mean, I have my friends that are farming it. I've talked to a lot of people that have been farming it since the beginning of Pulse Chain and everything. But I'm seeing how much money these people are making, and me participating in these opportunities, you guys participating in these opportunities, it's just a really good way to earn yield. If you're already sitting on some of these native chain tokens that are just sitting there, you can actually use those to earn yield. And Ink to me is just the greatest token for rewards because of how much it's going to outperform. Anybody that's able to make, $10, $50, $100 a day in Ink, those are going to be thousands of dollars potentially in a year or 2 years from now. So I just don't think that we should fade that. To me, this is the very best Richard Heart token on Pulse Chain. It's going to give the biggest ROI. I don't recommend anybody buy Hex. I don't recommend anybody stake Hex. I don't recommend anybody buy Pulse. I don't really even recommend anybody buy PulseX. I think that if you're going to buy anything on that ecosystem, buy Ink. It'll outperform all of those. There's literally no other reason to buy anything else. Just focus on the thing that's going to make you the most money. Ignore all of the clowns telling you to stake your life away for 15 years because they're for sure exit liquidity. The big thing is focus on the tokens that you can sell. Focus on what the charts are telling us. And every single one of these charts are significantly bullish. Guys, I can't even begin to explain how excited I am for just to be able to trade these things with you guys, because we are going to see an insane amount of development, an insane amount of ROI growth. We're going to see so much. We're going to see such a bigger ROI this cycle than the last one. And I really firmly believe that this is 2017 all over again. So I wanted to break these. So I wanted to break down the charts, explain why I think that these things are going to take off. Gave you guys 5 of my favorite altcoins that I'm actually looking at right now or have been investing in, and I really think you guys should check out these ecosystems as a whole. If at any point you found value in this video, please do me a favor, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these updates. For anybody that does want to see how I'm investing my portfolio, all of these have been prior signals. We've been accumulating a number of altcoins. I've been posting a lot more signals in the group on this dip. If you guys want to see how I'm investing my money, you just got to get into that private group. Once it's a one-time fee, lifetime membership. You'll always have access once you're in. Links are in the description to go ahead and sign up on my website. Thank you so much for tuning in. And with that being said, I'll catch you guys in the next one. As always, peace out.